Okay, hi guys. Sorry for the weird location. I'm actually in an airport right now, but I have to get this presentation done, so here we are. So this is my 6-minute talk on the electric vehicle. Bear with me if I have to look down because it is backwards on my screen. But yeah, so let's get into it. So moving to the history of the electric vehicle, in 1890, William Morrison built the first electric vehicle. It was a 6-seater vehicle that could travel at about 14 miles an hour, so it really didn't do a whole lot, but it was the first electric vehicle that was made and didn't really have any competitors at the time. Moving to about 1900, there were a lot of electric vehicles on the road. Nearly a third of all the vehicles on the road were electric, and it was considered the heyday of electric vehicles. There really weren't many alternatives, so it did really well. Then moving to 1908, the Model T was created, and it killed the electric dream. The Model T was a gas-powered engine, obviously created by Henry Ford, and it was able to be manufactured for about $650, while the electric vehicles were about $1,750. Moving through the rest of the 1900s, there really weren't a lot of progress with electric vehicles. It was mostly just gas-powered vehicles. Everybody was on that craze. And in 1978 or 76, the R&D was approved by the U.S. government to fund a bunch of electric vehicle research. And in 1997, the Prius was the first mass-produced hybrid electric vehicle to go to market, and it was a Japanese vehicle. And in 2000, it was released in the U.S., and it was the first globally mass-manufactured hybrid electric vehicle. In 2006, Tesla Motors came on the scene. They were a small Silicon Valley startup at the time, and in 2010, they got a $465 million loan from the Department of Energy. And as of today, there are 236,000 electric vehicles on the road and 3.3 million hybrid electric vehicles on the road. And just a little bit more information on those Tesla vehicles. The base model Tesla is $35,000 and has a range of about 262 miles. So moving on to how the electric vehicle actually works, there's obviously a battery. The battery is the main source of energy of the electric vehicle. It's charged by the charging station. The motors for an electric vehicle, there are typically there could be up to as many number of wheels on the vehicles as there are motors, so they're called electric traction motors. And some vehicles have a single motor that turn all wheels, and then some have independent motors for each wheel. Specifically, there's actually a new Hummer coming out, which is fully electric with 1,000 horsepower and has independent motors for each wheel. 1,000 horsepower is a whole lot if you didn't know that. But yeah, those are kind of the things that go on with an electric vehicle. There's also a thermal cooling system, just like any other vehicle. Those motors the electric motors run pretty hot, so there does need to be cooling. And yeah, it's a pretty cool process. It's very different than a gas powered engine. So moving on to the pros, electric vehicles are very energy efficient, and what I'm talking about with energy efficiency is the actual amount of energy put into the system as it is translated to the energy put into the system translated to actual vehicle movement. So that efficiency is rated at about 60% for an electric vehicle, and for a gas-powered vehicle it's about 20%. So they are more energy efficient in that regard. So yeah, that's it. They reduce emissions because they don't have an exhaust. They do not emit fumes to the atmosphere like a gas-powered engine does. They have other repercussions, obviously, that are pretty serious, which we'll get into in the next slide. But they do not have actual emissions from an exhaust. And they have low maintenance because there aren't as many moving parts as there are in a gas engine. Specifically, they don't have pistons that are constantly firing, and they don't have piston cylinders that are constantly firing. So moving to the cons, the biggest thing about electric vehicles is that they don't have a long range. As I said earlier, the base model Tesla has a range of 262 miles, which is not really good for a long road trip. They also have a long charge time. It's about 30 to 45 minutes to charge one of those, and that's just not really sustainable for people trying to travel across the country. So you're kind of limited in that regard, and the cost of electric vehicles are kind of questionable. You could argue that they are pretty expensive, but then there are companies like Tesla that are making moderately priced electric vehicles. $35,000 is well within the range of many Americans. So yeah, that's my presentation. Okay.